Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of But First Football. Episode 9. Hey, we're
I,
almost to double digits. So I am here with our resident football phenom, Mr. Von Parker, 11 season veteran of the NFL. And my name is Kim Beal, and I am the self proclaimed First Lady of football fandom and fashion. And we are here to talk about all things, but as always, but first, football.
yes.
And all of our favorite things that we know start with F, like family and food and fashion and the stuff we love. Philanthropy, that we pretend starts with an F. We're not uneducated, so we do know how to spell it. Hey,
Sure.
but listen, Vaughn, first things first. We are 3 weeks away from the first training camp. Woo!
Uh, I didn't really even realize that. Yeah, I mean, July is here, so yeah,
I
good news.
know. Good news.
I'm
So that's
excited.
exciting.
Yes.
And I got I got tickets to attend one of the training camps
Oh,
here, which I always do. And it used to be super miserable before we got our indoor facility. So
okay.
now it's a little bit better. You can go cool off a little bit. But I'll be going on July 25th,
Well, that was going to be my
8:30
next
a.m.
question. Does Tampa hold theirs right there in Tampa? Because I imagine, September. I'm sorry, July. When August rolls around, it can get pretty warm and humid.
Well, so can September and October. So I usually don't even go to a Bucks game until November.
Sure.
But yes, they are here. And I will say their practice facility is really, really nice. And it's
Okay.
literally right across the street from the stadium. So it's just this
Oh,
whole kind of area. And they used to not have an indoor facility, and we used to go and we would sit out there, and you're drenched, there's no way
right.
around it, everybody looks like crap, so you just go with it. But they built this new indoor facility. I think it's been maybe about 3 or 4 years now, and it's very nice.
Okay. Yeah. Oddly enough, Tampa's one of the two places I never played. So
I know that's so odd, but
yeah.
you're coming in September, so we're gonna at
Yes.
least go check it out.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that trip.
I know it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
def-
awesome. So, one funny thing about the training camp. One year, Elizabeth and I went, and we came out of it was when the indoor facility had first opened. We come outside, and of course, there's one of Tampa's summer storms moving through, and they're like making announcements over the loudspeaker. Everybody, lightning is within blah, 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 blah. Everybody's got to go. We're standing in front of the little mini pirate ship, and this guy and his dad are like, "Hey, will you take our picture?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you'll take ours." So they take mine and Elizabeth's, then I take his phone and I take his. And the second I did it, this lightning strike, I swear to God, hit like behind the pirate ship, and they got it. The photo was amazing. I should have had him send it to me because it
oh
wasn't
no.
on my phone, but it was the craziest thing. And then Elizabeth and I were running to the car, because it got really scary really fast.
I'll tell you what, Florida lightning scares me like no other thing. I was in a storm once driving through Florida, and I saw it hit to the side of the road. I've
Yeah.
never been scared in my life. Oh my goodness.
I know. Well, us coming from California, just, like you, we
Yes.
got here and we were like, what the heck? This is
What's going
scary
on?
stuff. Now we're standing outside taking pictures. Hey, just wait, just
Right.
wait.
Oh,
Anyway, so this week on Football Fundamentals, we are going to learn a little bit more about the field. So, Vaughn, you're going to take us through the field, the what everyone's looking at when they're looking at the field, right? Because I think we all make assumptions that we know these things, but when I think about it, I didn't know what all the markings on the field were until I started really paying attention with my dad. So you want to take us through the field and all that means?
Sure, and just like anything else, we just want to slow things down. We've been hitting the positions pretty well the last few weeks, and sometimes I get ahead of myself and just assume everyone knows what I'm talking about when I refer to going up the middle of the field, the hash marks, using the sideline, and that's not necessarily common terminology to everyone. So we just want to slow it down and hit the field a little bit. And so most people probably know the field is 100 yards and it's marked off by the little dashes on the side of the field are the yard markers. And then really, to be quite honest, the 10s and the 5s are really just for the viewing, right? When you're up in the stands or you're watching at home, it's just easier to keep track of the yard lines if they give you that 5, which doesn't have a number. And then by the 10s, 20s, 30s, you have the number. Obviously, the 50 is the midpoint. And so as a team, we refer to when we're on our side of the 50, meaning our end zone is behind us, that's the minus territory. And when we cross the 50 and get into the other team's half as an offense, we refer to that as the plus side, obviously. And so, and I mentioned that to say that as an offense, once we cross that 50, typically most teams, oh man, they're in our territory, they really want to defend it. What do we look for as an offense? You look for the blitz, right? They're going to try to be disruptive, disrupt your play by sending extra people or people from areas they wouldn't normally send people from. So that's just kind of a check for an offense. Hey, we're crossing the 50, get ready. The blitz is probably coming.
So you're saying that you, as a player, you're not looking at the yard numbers. You're really looking at the guy with the stick. So you know where the first down start, the down marker. Are you looking at that, or you just know where the 50 is? I guess,
No,
I mean, it makes sense that it does. You don't need that. You're right. We as fans need that so we can see.
Yeah, and me as the right tackle, I'm not looking at the yard marker per se. I kind of, I'll check the scoreboard. Hey, what's the down and distance? Give me an idea of, what to expect from the defense based on our preparation. Hey, we know in these situations, third and short, meaning anywhere from 5 yards and under, this is what they like to do, or third and long, this is what they like to do. So kind of anticipating,
Okay.
but in terms of the biggest thing for me as a right tackle, right? I don't have to know specifically as much as a quarterback does in terms of down and distance, but just generally speaking, if I'm on my side of the field, they're probably going to play a little bit more vanilla meaning not some exotic blitz defense where they're sending extra rushers or sending rushers from areas where we don't quite expect them. They're probably going to play regular defense and see if they can force us turn over the ball that way. Once we cross that 50, now we expect a lot more exotic defenses in terms of positioning, in terms of sending extra rushers. So that's how I kind of
So
process.
when you tell me that you would look at the scoreboard to check the down and distance, so
Oh,
that makes me happy that it's not only you're looking for like, oh, how did I look on that last play?
I'm doing that too, though. I'm definitely doing that too. And when you do it, like offensive, we don't get any recognition unless we're screwing up. But I'm definitely telling, like, say I give up a pressure, the guy gets to the quarterback. I'm looking at the screen. Oh, what did I do? Did I go for an inside fake or so, you know? Luckily, I can multitask, so I'm doing it all.
Well, I always look at them. They always look up. They're looking up at the jumbotron, and now I know that they're not just looking at themselves. They may
Yeah,
also be looking at down and distance.
yeah. And so another thing that people might hear constantly is people talk about the red zone. So the red zone is the plus 20 into the goal line. And it's called the red zone for a few reasons. One, because it's the scoring zone. Most teams are already in field goal range. So you figure, worst case scenario, we're going to come out of this possession with 3 points. But it's the red zone because we like to get into the end zone. And it's red just to impress upon the players, hey, this is an important part. Everyone lock in, really know what we're doing. We want to get some points here. But going back to my business school background, it's similar to what we study in business called blue ocean strategies, where when companies are competing in an area where there's not much competition, it's a blue ocean. But when they're competing in an area where there's tons of competition, it's a red ocean. And similarly, with the red zone, the real estate is much harder to get as an offense because You don't have as much room. You only have 20 yards to work within. And the defense knows, hey, any yard we give up is just that much closer to that score. There's the intensity just is ramped up just a bit. You know, you're not going to have the coverage is going to be tighter. The team, like I said, there's going to be blitzes. There's going to be movement from the defensive line, meaning they're going to line up in one position and not give you a regular charge up the field. They're going to slant to their right, to their left, because they're trying to pull out all the stops to keep you from scoring. So, you know, again, you hear that there's a channel, the red zone, and that's what it's named after, that 20-yard area from the plus 20 into the red zone. And then obviously,
which is the Buccaneers, we had some struggles in the red zone last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was frustrating.
Yeah, that's definitely a critical area for any offense, any defense. You know, you want to score when you're there as an offense. You got to defend that area when you're a defense. And, you know, in a team that consistently gets down there, like you said, you struggled in the red zone, you're coming away with three is probably not going to have a ton of success. It's not that you can clearly move the ball because you're getting into that area, but you want to have a high percentage of success of converting those possessions that do get to the red zone into touchdowns. Very important.
Wouldn't you say that becomes very demoralizing at some point if you're getting into the red zone frequently but walking away with three, like you said? I mean, that has to be frustrating for everyone.
Sure. And then, you know, this is the stuff that happens during the week. You got to self-scout. Hey, what are we doing that's preventing us? Is it the players aren't quite as locked in? Is a particular player nervous? I don't know, jumping off sides, whatever it is. We got to get this squared away because we need to score points, because points are at a premium. All the rules nowadays are engineered to make teams score points. And if we're not doing it at a high enough clip, eventually it will catch up to us. Yeah. So, and then I guess I would say, obviously the end zones are 10 yards each, right? Again, not a ton of space to operate within them. But one of the things too, we talked about a couple weeks ago about the tight ends and getting up the middle of the field. So the little dashes in the middle, the hash marks in the middle of the field. And the big difference there is in the NFL, the hash marks are narrow, whereas in college, the hash marks are wider. And how that affects you is when I was at UCLA, for instance, our defenses played field corners and boundary corners. So the boundary corner was to the shorter side of the field, meaning he played on the side of the field where he kind of had because the hash marks were wider. So one side of the field from the hash mark to the sideline was much less field to cover. And he was more of less of a cover guy, not less. I mean, he could cover clearly, but the field corner was like the star cover guy because he had way more room to maneuver and to navigate as he covered his receiver. Well, in the NFL, the hash marks are much narrower. So despite whatever side you're on, you got a ton of field to cover. So every corner has to be at their very dead level best, right? And so also offensively, you know, gives you more room in terms of not running. If you have a run play called into one hash or the other, it really doesn't matter because there's so much room on that field. Again, it's 53 yards wide, so there's not much difference between one side or the other. At least not as much as in college. So
I guess I didn't realize that the end zone is only 10 yards, which of course makes perfect sense, but that's even more impressive when you think about some of those incredible catches that guys are, you know, dragging their feet to stay in the end zone. And it is not that big of a space. It's plenty of room for your post touchdown celebration. But it is impressive when you think, you know, some of the stuff that does happen in there. It's pretty intense.
Well, and if you see the way they work at those toe tapping catches, like throughout the week, like they work at that stuff so hard, and they're such great athletes because in the NFL, you need 2 feet inbounds for it to be a catch. In college, all you need is one, and it makes a huge difference in terms of what you can get away with, I guess I'll say. But yeah, they're incredible. Just it's amazing. Like you see the stuff they do on Sundays, but it's a byproduct of what they've done during the week, practicing those types of catches.
Right. So
Yeah,
Vaughn, the field. So we know the field is 100 yards lengthwise.
yeah,
Do you know what is the measure widthwise?
53
Do
yards.
you, 53.
Yes,
53.
yes.
What in the heck? 53?
Don't ask me why. Not 52, not 51, 53. And you know why I know? Because we used to, there's a thing called gassers, right? Which is two up, back of the width of the field, right? There's one gasser. And so, and anybody who's ever played football knows what a gasser is. A half gasser is just going once. And so you know that it's 53, not 52, not 51, because if you cut it short, guess what? You're probably going to have to do it again. So, and so, and it's funny back then, it'd be funny to see what I could run a gasser at right now, but typically it was kind of like the big guys had 20 seconds to run one. And then the next group, the like tight ends, linebackers, they'd have 18. And then the receivers, I think quarterbacks probably ran with the linebackers, but receivers, quarterbacks, they had 16 to run one gasser. We'd have so many, then you get like a 2-minute break, and then you have another group of them. I've ran so many gassers in my life, but if I never see one again, I'll be happy.
That's so I really did not know about that. That's so interesting. And then it
Yeah,
also
53.
gives you such an appreciation for, to your point, not only the when they're running straight down the field, the
Yeah,
the yardage that they're covering from side to side, and those
sure.
little slant
Yeah.
passes. And yeah, there's a lot, they're covering a lot of space, even though it may not look like it on TV.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Those guys are in such top physical shape, and they're running all day. And the best ones, they're running just as hard when they're not getting the ball as they are when they do, because they don't want to give any tell. Because defenses are taught to read our stances, read our releases, read how we're running. Oh, this guy isn't running hard. I know he's not getting the ball, so I can divert my attention somewhere else, right? And then the really crafty guys will give you a fake read, not run hard for a couple plays. Oh, he doesn't get the ball. Then on the play he is getting the ball, he'll kind of dog it a little bit, and all of a sudden he's at top speed. I mean, it's all a game within a game at a certain level, right? So
Yeah. Interesting. So,
yeah,
can you talk a little bit about AstroTurf versus grass? I mean, that I know is like really, it's been controversial. I don't know, is AstroTurf any better now? But what do players prefer? And I'm sure it's grass, but maybe
yes.
not for everyone. I don't know.
I think the vast majority of players would prefer grass. It's the safest. It's what we're most used to. And there's probably the odd guy who prefers something else. Now, when I was playing, there were still stadiums that had AstroTurf, which is the old school, felt like concrete, very, very compact. You don't wear spikes on AstroTurf. You wear a different shoe that has little spikes, but not like a cleat that digs into grass. It's not so prevalent. I'd be shocked if there's actually any stadium that still uses AstroTurf. What a lot of teams have switched to is called field turf, which is some people have it in their homes, right? And it mimics the look, not so much the feel, but definitely the look of actual grass, but it's synthetic. It looks like it has dirt, but it's actually ground up tires, little rubber filings.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, and it
Yes.
plays a lot closer, not exactly, but a lot closer to actual grass than AstroTurf. And you can wear your grass cleats on field turf, right? And you'll be fine. Most people will be fine. And that was always a big thing getting ready for a game. We typically pack our bags Thursday night, and then the equipment people will go through, toss anything in our bags that maybe you request or you might need. And so the big thing was, hey, have the right shoes for the right surface. And unfortunately, there was always the odd couple of veterans who would tell the rookies, "Oh yeah, make sure you got your turf shoes for Sunday." But we're playing on grass, and
Oh my God.
it's not a big deal because Well, it's a deal, I'll say, but it's not such a big deal because the equipment guys were so down, and they'd always have extra for every. Hey, okay, you didn't. Hey, next time get it right, but okay, here you go, right? So you weren't just
Yeah,
free.
they'll catch it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't want to cost the game because someone's got the wrong shoes.
yeah. But
Well,
but you know,
so
AstroTurf.
now, so wait, so AstroTurf though, so it just was like plasticky cement, like what was it?
It wasn't plasticky. It was. It felt like a rug, like a compact hard rug. And if
Okay.
you remember, that's back when the guys would get those big, huge strawberries on their knees
Yeah.
and on their elbows. You know, they've got the strip trying to cover it because it would shred your skin when you would land on
Yeah.
it. And it was just, and those are the games where you see. I can remember we were in Tennessee. They just moved from Houston, the Oilers, and had just become the Titans, and they were playing at Vanderbilt. And so Vanderbilt had that old AstroTurf. It was 120 on the field, and you could see the heat rising off the field, and my feet were on fire. It was
It's
crazy.
awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. So not too many teams still do that. But now it's so interesting. I think of Glendale in Arizona, where I think during the Super Bowl they'll usually highlight how they grow their field on trays that they can take out of the stadium, put it out in the parking lot for sun, and they put it back into this pretty cool system. And so they're just so much better now in terms of taking care of the grass and making sure that it's up to par for the players. But you know, one of the problems they always run into, no matter how good they are at cultivating great fields with grass, you know what gives a lot of people problems is when they paint the fields for like a Super Bowl and it's just
Oh
heavy
yeah.
paint. It's slippery. That stuff is slippery, and guys have issues. And so they'll come out thinking they can wear one shoe, and then they'll go in and have to change to like a half-inch longer cleat, right? Because the of all things, hey, we got to have some great Super Bowl design, and so we're gonna load a ton of paint on this beautiful field we just grew.
Oh
So
yeah, I never even thought of that. And of course, that's all for TV, and it always looks so good, but
yeah,
you don't know how it affects the players.
yeah,
I
exactly.
the turf that you describe now that's made out of the tires. I
Yeah.
learned that last fall. I did a yoga class at the Rays at the Trop, where the Rays play, the
Okay.
worst baseball field in the country. That one. But
That's
it was but it was a yoga class. It was a yoga class on the field. It was super cool. And the second I heard
oh
about it, I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to go to that.
right.
But my feet were, even though we had mats, you're still walking around, on the turf. My feet were black. I'm like,
Yeah.
why are my feet so filthy? And then to your point, those little black pellets were all over me. I'm like,
Yes.
what? Where have I been? So now I know what that was.
Well, one of the issues they're starting to have with that is that people who play on those fields over time are starting to inhale those pellets and starting to have lung issues. So grass is always going to be the best. And so ultimately, and I get why they do it, especially if you're in some Northeast city in the cold and the weather, and you think it's better, but ultimately they just have to, I think, suck it up and just put grass everywhere.
Well, yeah, you think about like the old school Bears, when football first started, the field that they were
Yep.
playing on, they're outside, like in
Yep.
Chicago. It might have been
Yep.
dirt or mud, but they were playing on it.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting. I learned a lot from this. Is there anything else about the field that we should know?
Well, just a quick story that's somewhat related. I had a friend ask me about, well, what do guys do when they have to use the bathroom? And I said, well, to be quite honest, there's plenty of guys who just go in their pants. Said,
Do
what?
they
I'm
wear
like,
depends or they just go?
no defense that I know of. No, they just go in
Oh
their
my God.
because those pants just soak up sweat, so they probably barely even knew. I never had that issue. I could always wait till halftime, but yeah, plenty of guys would just do that. So
So that is actually a good segue if you don't have anything else on the field, because I
no,
was watching the other day on NFL Network. They were interviewing players about the worst thing about a game or about
okay,
game day.
yeah,
And most of them say it's putting on and off their uniforms and their pads and their jerseys. So, maybe they just go in their pants because it's such a pain in the ass to get them off.
Well, I agree with that, because there's plenty of guys who go in at halftime, they'll take their shoulder pads and jersey off, and I'm just like, once I'm in it, I'm in it. I am not taking anything off to relax, to cool down, whatever. Like, once I get this stuff on, I'm leaving it on. So yeah, I get that for a lot of guys, right? And so that's a whole conversation we probably need to have by itself, because for offensive linemen, for example, we can be held legally by the defensive line. So our whole thing is about taping our jerseys to our pads. Some guys cheat and use silicone on the front of their jerseys. There's a check, but still some risk it. There's we call it the diaper, where it wraps around and under, and you can button it to the front of the, like, there's a whole conversation, that rich
I'm writing this down. We need to talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with some guys. Yeah, that it is a pain in the ass sometimes. Oh, excuse me.
I mean, it was really funny because they're showing him, like, guys are having to help him take it off. And then, like, at the end of a game when they do those jersey swaps and they can't get the jerseys off.
Right.
All right. Well, let's go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say the whole thing is about keeping it high and tight. And so those jerseys sometimes are like a couple sizes too small. You pull them on, they loosen up a little bit. But once you're in the mix, you're up. But when it's time to get it off, you need a little bit of help.
Yeah, so I'm putting this down. This has to be a further fundamental conversation, because we need to know, like, all the stuff that they're putting on. There's a lot of stuff you guys have to wear.
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to be in a few weeks. We're going to talk more about that. So we're going to now move on to football frenzy. Woohoo! Even though there really hasn't been that much activity in the world of football this past week, because now we're in the quiet time. A lot of people are on vacation. But of course, we would be remiss if we didn't discuss Travis Kelce performing on stage with Taylor Swift in London.
Right.
Your thoughts on that, Vaughn?
I thought he did a great job, right? It's hard to, like, if you're not an actor by trade, like, it's hard to do that type of stuff. Like, someone just do it at home in the mirror and you'd be embarrassed to do it. But I thought he did a great job. At Wembley Stadium, of all places, and I don't know if you ever caught his great reality dating show, but he's a bit of a ham anyway. So I think it just got kind of. What'd you think?
What can I say? They're cute. I mean, I'm just not a huge fan of her music per se, but she's pretty amazing, and they're a cute couple, and it's just really refreshing with all the negative news that goes on to see something like that, where they're genuinely having a great time and providing entertainment for millions of people. And he did I agree with you. He did a good job.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think it might have been that same concert, but Jason Kelce and his wife went to one of the concerts. Maybe it wasn't that one. But there was the cutest thing. Jason Kelce's walking into the concert, and he's wearing a bunch of, these are my Peloton bracelets, but you know how she does her friendship bracelets. Yeah. So he had on a bunch of those. And he sees a kid, a boy with his family. It looked like maybe like 12 years old or something. And he's wearing a Jason Kelce jersey.
Oh, okay.
So Jason Kelce goes up to him and taps him on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, you want to get a picture?" And the kid's face is just like you can tell he cannot believe it. He cannot believe it. They take a picture with him. It's adorable. So the Kelce brother, they're good guys. They seem to be good guys.
Yeah, they're on top of the world right now for sure.
They sure are. They sure are. Another thing for the frenzy, I was curious to get your impression on the Trevor Lawrence contract. A lot of money.
Yeah. So you remember we talked a couple weeks ago, you asked me if when guys get new deals, if sometimes people are jealous or, well, a little professional jealousy. This could be one where there might be some not team any issues that are going to bother the team, but some players might be like, because if you look at it, I wouldn't say that Trevor Lawrence to this point has had as certainly the team success that you would want from a quarterback that you signed is such a big deal. I think they quoted 275 million for 5 years, I believe, which is just
Crazy.
mind-boggling money. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. And
He has beautiful hair, but I've seen not a lot on the field.
right. But I think they clearly they believe he's their guy, and I think they can talk themselves into kind of look. His first year was a complete loss due to the whole Urban Meyer situation, right?
Yeah. Ugh, what a joke.
And then
Yeah.
call these last 2 years, they've got a Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson, and I think they say, look, we've seen enough. We've seen enough flashes. We've seen enough improvement where, yeah, the numbers aren't quite there yet, but we believe they will be. And so we're going to make this commitment to him. And so the thing that does is, I think I wish I was smart enough to come up with this on my own, but I was watching Pat McAfee. He and his crew came up with I think the right take on this is that now that opens it up to a guy who doesn't have stellar numbers, who doesn't have stellar win totals, to say, hey, well, look at the market comp in Trevor Lawrence. He got paid. I think his record right now is 20-30 maybe. So why not me, right? And so NFL teams are going to have to defend their positions on why they don't think maybe a guy is ready. And so, like I told you, and it's so cool that all this stuff is happening over this time because it just all relates. No one's going to, the next guy in line is not going to take less than what Trevor Lawrence signed for, right? So,
well, and that sounds like it's probably going to be Tua or Jordan Love. Yep. And, the things that I'm reading and hearing, I mean, so first of all, Jordan Love really has only, played these incredible 17 games. There's really not a lot of history there. I mean, obviously he had a great, particularly late season. And then Tua, so I guess I was listening to the NFL Live podcast on my walk yesterday. They were talking about Tua's been there now for 2 or 3 years. And if they were going to pay the guy, they probably would have paid the guy. They're watching him every day. So there's something there that is maybe holding them back from making that, whether it's the injuries or what. I don't know. I don't know enough about the Dolphins, but it just does seem though Trevor Lawrence, and I mean, yes, there's been no team around him, but that is a hell of a lot of money. But he'll be able to continue to buy wonderful shampoo and flip his locks.
He does have the golden locks.
He really does. There was a thing on Instagram, and it was like, who has the best hair in the NFL? I'm sorry, hands down, it's him. although, what's that guy, Sam Bradford, that was at Notre Dame and he went to Washington? He didn't get drafted, but they picked him up after the draft. He has quite lovely hair as well.
Well,
but there was. Go.
No. I'm just going to say I think maybe one of the issues for him is his availability, right? He's not a big guy, and he does get hurt, and so you don't want to pay a guy that type of money and then have him not be available. And so I think more than anything, that's probably the thing where they're a little bit hesitant with him. But look, like I said, that's the goal. This is the floor now, right? And you're not going to pay me. I'm not going to accept you paying me less than that. And if that's what you want to do, then hey, I'll move on, right? I think that's going to be the attitude like of a Dak Prescott, who again, I think he and Trevor Lawrence both only have the one playoff win, right? So and now granted, he has a much bigger, I think, sample size, but look, he's not taking less than that. 5 years, 275. That's why I said some of the gamesmanship in all of this is, hey, who signs before who? Locking in your money versus waiting, and that's the risk that teams take, and that's the risk that players take.
Yeah, so true. And it'll be interesting, I think, next year when Brock Purdy's contract comes up, because here's a guy, he's making nothing. I mean, and he's been in a Super Bowl, and so that'll be an interesting one to watch. Like, how much value is he truly their quarterback of the future? Do they really believe that? And the money is insane, though. The money is insane.
Right. which is why San Fran has been so good for so long, because they're paying their quarterback. I know I say nothing, but I'm talking about in NFL terms, not a lot, and that way they can pay all the players around them. They've got San Fran is loaded at every position because they're not their quarterback is not only on a he's not even on a rookie first round contract. He's on a rookie last player pick in the seventh round. Like
Yeah,
they're paying
yeah.
not relative to the other positions, and so are they able to keep those great players now that they have to pay their quarterback? So
And what's interesting about him too is he doesn't really seem to have a lot of endorsements, or I mean, he just is not like he's a utilitarian player. He goes in, he gets the job done as best he
yeah,
can, and I mean,
yeah,
you got to give him credit. He got them to the Super Bowl and played pretty well. So, but he's
agreed.
not doing commercials. You don't see him on every Subway, State Farm, yada yada commercial like you do Mahomes.
I'll be surprised if he strings another season together like he's had, and then gets the big contract. I'll be surprised if those endorsements don't start rolling in. I really will be. San
Yeah.
Fran is one of the glamour franchises of the NFL, and so if you're the quarterback of that franchise, certain things come with that. And like you said, I think it's still like I think companies are still like, oh well, he was the seventh pick. Is he just Cinderella? Is he going to turn into a punk? If he can do it again, I think it all
Yeah.
comes
Well,
to
I root for him because he seems like a nice young man.
yeah. It does.
I sound like an old lady.
What do they say?
So my Bucks appreciation post for this week. There's not a lot that's going on, but what I will tell you is that I think that I mentioned to you before that they did a coaching academy for all kinds of upcoming coaches, women, minorities, and so they've selected 5 now that will return for training camp, and it's
Oh,
a
okay.
really interesting mix. There's 2 women. I'm gonna follow up a little bit on that, but I think it's great that the Bucks are doing that and really, really giving people an opportunity to get into the game.
Yeah.
So that's my Bucks appreciation post for today.
You know what? If you're from Mars and you're whatever type of people live on Mars, but you can teach a player, help a player excel at his position, that's all he cares about. He doesn't care if you're a man, woman, what color you are. If you can help him be a better player and have success and take care of his family, he'll listen to whatever you tell him.
Yeah, and I'm always really proud of the Bucks because they've really been on the forefront of hiring women and obviously minority coaches. So I love my team. Go Bucks. so, so we'll move on. We'll move on to fashion.
Yeah.
Fashion. It's Paris Fashion Week. So we saw, you and I both. It was pretty funny because you sent me the link right when I was about to send you the picture of Joe Burrows and Justin Jefferson walking in the Vogue World Fashion Show. I
Yes.
thought that was awesome. I loved it.
They look good.
They did look good. I wasn't the biggest fan of the cutout on the back of the suit, but that's not his fault. That they put him in that. But here's what I want to say that I think is so interesting about men when they're modeling. They have such a much easier model walk. They don't have to do the strut and
Right.
like Marsha Dahl, that my friend now from the fashion event that I did, and she's got this incredible model walk and she teaches the model walk. And then you watch these male models, and I mean, Joe and Justin walked just like the other male models. They were just as good, but they were very serious and they did that kind of ambling walk. But their posture, they both looked great. I thought it was really fun that they were in that show. I liked
Yeah,
it.
definitely. I'll tell you what. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a couple shots from when LSU won the national championship, and Joe Burrow, he's got a stogie and he lights it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people do that and it doesn't look natural, but he's just a natural at stuff like that. Just he looks so comfortable And I'll agree because all I could think about was Seinfeld when I saw the back out, right? The episode with the
The
back out.
puffy shirt, or
But that, the front image of the two of them walking, I thought they both looked great. And of course, of course, it's not new. Football players hanging out with models, like you get
right.
invited. Of course, you're going to do it, and good for them. They're young, they're talented, and they're just living life, and it's awesome. Good for them.
Yeah, I loved it. And I did make a few notes on some of the trends that I noticed in the men's shows. So this will be good for Andy Reid, unstructured tailoring. Because we've discussed his need for alteration. Doesn't mean you do still have to alter your unstructured. Unstructured tailoring has to look unstructured, but it has to look it well. But anyway,
Yeah.
unstructured tailoring. So not necessarily the buttoned up traditional suit jacket. So I like that trend.
Like a summer look, right?
Mm-hmm. And because these shows are spring, summer of 25. So this is what you're going to be seeing next time. Because, the men's market is way in advance. And then ultra light outerwear, which I also love as a trend. So lots of very thin parachute-y type of materials, which I like a lot. And then my favorite thing was shorts. So you saw a lot of shorts, whether it be short with jackets. So, and I am a fan. I know not everybody loves a short suit short suit, but I like them. I think they're fun, and because I live in Florida, I wear shorts all the time. So.
Right.
But those are some of the trends that I noticed in almost every show. So I thought Men's Fashion Week looked great, and there's definitely some women's out there. I of course loved the Chanel show. Everything was just phenomenal. And in that show, I saw a lot of very long duster type coats. Beautiful. But we can talk about that another time, because there's still shows going on for that. So that's the fashion end of things. How about family? What you got going on with the fam bam?
Well, I got an interesting tidbit. My youngest came back from her trip a couple weeks ago and informed me that she's moving to Arkansas. And so,
no.
Oh yeah, and so I'm processing. I've been consumed by it for the last, since she told me. And I kind of figured, listen, I've got some time to, give my opinion. Look, she turned 22 today, as a matter of fact.
Today's her birthday?
She turned 22
Aww.
and Madison Beach both today. And so I can't do anything about it. I mean, it's her life ultimately, but I'm coming to grips with it. And I'm thinking it's a little bit off into the future. So I'll have time to make my peace. Well, she's already scheduled her trip out. And so now I haven't been consulted. I've just been informed of what's going on. So so I'm dealing with that. So that's family wise.
Well, guess what, Vaughn? When they're 22, you are no longer consulted. You are just informed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so wow. You and I were talking about Arkansas, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But good for her. That's very brave. And I think, it's always good for kids to fly the coop a little bit. They oftentimes come back.
Yeah.
But that's big news.
She's been in San Diego her whole life, and I think she's going to see, because you visit for a week, it's different, right? When you're there living, I think you see it's going to be a bit of culture shock for her.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I've got a couple family things. Number one, I'll just have to brag that Elizabeth got a 91 on her second exam in PT school, and that was on the joints. So, they have to, these exams, they go in and they have to look at these cadavers and identify all the stuff. And she was very stressed about this test. She was so prepared. She worked so hard. She was so prepared. And then, of course, as always has been the case with her, she called me and she's like, I know I failed that. I failed that. I'm like, you didn't. You always think you failed and you never fail. And so Sure enough, she got a 91, which I think is pretty damn good. So they're moving on now to the hands and shoulders and nerves. It's crazy what they're learning in such a short period of time. So that's Elizabeth. And then Dylan, my nephew, the one that's being heavily recruited, went and did an O-line camp at Penn State, which he loved. And he was one of 3 MVPs at the camp.
Oh, good for him. Congratulations.
So, yeah, he's really having a great summer and great experience. So we'll get him on one of these days. And the day that they were able to start communicating directly with the players, which I believe was June 15th, he got a FedEx package delivered, and that was a Sunday. FedEx package delivered to the house Sunday morning, full of cards from every coach at the U. So they know what to do.
Good for him. Like he's got 2 more years of this, right? His recruiting up to explode, because if you don't think every other school is going to hear about him being, one of the top linemen at this camp, and that, because I'm sure, geography plays a part with some of that, but now it's just going to expand to other regions of the country. And oh man, good for him. I really want to get him on and hear about, how different things are now in terms of recruiting and how he's enjoying it. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So I think pretty soon we'll be ready for guests, because we have our wonderful Ashton as our producer, who will help us get that all figured out for us. But, we thought we didn't have a lot this week, but we've managed to cover it. So we're at time. So we are going to take the 4th of July off, and we will reconvene a week after that. And we really thank anybody and everybody who's been listening to our podcast. But first, football, we're having a great time, and I hope everybody has a safe and fun 4th of July. You too, Von Parker.
You too, Ken. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everyone.
See ya. Bye.